Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to it. Yes, it is that time of the week again. Welcome to the HODLNOTS Weekly Warm-Up. I'm John,
I'm Vicky.
and it is 9 a.m. UTC. Let's get into some of the crypto headlines over the last few days, and then we'll proceed with the rest of the details. Vicky, over to you.
Yes, and the first one will affect our US members, which have already been quite affected over the past couple of years, but this could be good. So Coinbase dominance is at risk as Trump crypto embrace entices new entrants. So with Wall Street increasingly embracing crypto thanks to the new US rules under President Donald Trump, Coinbase may be just about to face mounting competition. Let's cross our fingers with that one. So, the new regulations and the rise of rival platforms are putting pressure on Coinbase, which has long been the dominant player in the market. So, under Donald Trump's administration, crypto regulations have become more favorable, attracting new players to the market. Trump's push to embrace cryptocurrencies, along with his appointment of crypto friendly regulators, has fueled significant growth in the sector. With major banks and institutional investors now showing greater interest, Coinbase's long-standing dominance in the crypto exchange business could be challenged. So new rules introduced in the US are seen as a major shift, potentially opening doors for larger financial institutions to enter the market. As the crypto landscape evolves, Wall Street's increasing interest has triggered a wave of competition, and in particular, firms with established infrastructure and customer base are now exploring the crypto space. And I believe a couple of weeks ago, we kind of had a hint about someone returning to the US. So we actually are looking at that story quite closely because that would be amazing if that happened.
Absolutely. Now,
Mhm.
speaking about institutions and countries exploring the crypto space more so is Pakistan. All right, so in the subcontinent, Pakistan is inviting global crypto firms to apply for operating licenses. So, Pakistan has initiated and invited international crypto firms to apply for these licenses under its regulatory authority, PVARA or PAVARA, with strict criteria and global compliance standards. Now, on Saturday, the Pakistan Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority, PVRAI, called on major crypto firms to submit the expressions of interest forms to enter the country's digital asset market, according to a local news outlet. Pakistan has surged to third place in Chainalysis 2025 Global Crypto Adoption Index, climbing 6 spots and emerging as one of the world's fastest growing crypto markets. So that's huge for the East, for Asia, specifically the subcontinent, as Pakistan is now embracing crypto. We've covered stories about Vietnam and Thailand in Southeast Asia. Now we're looking at the subcontinent. We know there's a huge database. So now keep an eye on this space, ladies and gents, in future weeks, as who knows, Binance and Coinbase and the likes may be entering into Pakistan.
Yeah, it's great news that everyone seems to be embracing this crypto wave. So let's keep it going. And this next story is actually extremely interesting because we have talked a lot about BlackRock, both here and on our happy hour hangout. And BlackRock is eyeing tokenizing its ETFs after the Bitcoin fund's success. So BlackRock is weighing plans to tokenize exchange traded funds or ETFs on the blockchain network. So the firm is evaluating the viability of tokenizing funds linked to real world assets as a way to attract more investors. ETFs are already one of the dominant investment products globally, with their numbers now exceeding those of publicly listed stocks. Although any initiative would have to face regulatory obstacles as there's no defined framework for such ETFs. So, in any case, tokenizing ETFs could enable them to trade outside traditional market hours and expand their use as collateral in decentralized finance markets. So this is really interesting because if you think about it, they've taken Bitcoin, which is decentralized and traded 24 hours a day. They've packaged it into an ETF, which can only be traded on the stock exchange when it's open. And then they want to cut that basically into pieces and put it back onto the crypto exchanges. So it's actually really interesting to watch. So actually watch that space closely in the next couple of months.
This ever-evolving markets, right?
Mm.
The crypto markets. Yeah, we're in a new era, ladies and gents. Now, speaking about that, and this is a little bit of a follow-on to that to a degree. So most of you know that ETFs have been around for many years. Bitcoin, Ethereum ETFs have been more recent and gain a lot of public favor, and we've seen a lot of investments around that. But what about the meme coin ETFs? And there's been some speculation and some excitement around this. We have mentioned in a couple of weeks ago around the meme coin ETF summer. Well, Dogecoin was meant to list or at least have their ETF um, listed, not Dogecoin specifically, but a institution who would be offering that as an ETF. Now, this was supposed to happen on Thursday last week, but it didn't happen yet. So, title of this is the Dogecoin price has risen despite the latest in the US Doge ETF launch. It did gain more than 4% on Friday it did reach 26 cents on some exchanges, up to 30 cents on others, despite Bloomberg's Eric Balchunas reporting that the first US Doge ETF is facing another delay. So, according to a September 8th US Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) filing, the Rex Osprey Doge ETF, the ticker will be DOJE, was expected to list alongside Bonk, XRP, Bitcoin, and Trump official ETFs on Friday last week. He has suggested that the listing is delayed until the middle of next week, likely this week, Thursday. It's going to be big for a lot of these meme coins that are being included. Now, also on the back of that, according to SEC filings, there is also a new deadline set now for November 13th for a company called Franklin and their Ethereum staking amendment, and November 14th for its Solana and XRP ETFs. Now, this is huge. A lot of people have been waiting for the Solana ETFs as well. A proposal is seeking to permit staking in BlackRock's iShares Ethereum Trust is also now slated for the end of October. So, ladies and gents, just based on these latest two crypto headlines, is as Vicky was saying, there's been this evolution. First of all, it was Bitcoin, then Bitcoin ETFs, and now tokenized versions of those ETFs. But we're also looking at a lot of options around other ETFs as well. So it was first Bitcoin, then Ethereum, then Solana, and we're going to be looking at an XRP as well, and a bunch of these meme coin ETFs as well, which is huge for altcoins. It's huge for the crypto industry, as people will be able to trade these exchange traded funds and not necessarily the crypto assets themselves, because we know that at the moment in most countries there are a lot of regulatory limits around that kind of thing. So very big news. We are definitely going to be following this story much further. Vicky.
Yeah, and I see Solana's done quite well over the past week or so. So this could be because of that. So I'm going to be keeping my eye on all of those coins. And it's also interesting how the US is relaxing a lot of its rulings about these ETFs. And Tether, which is obviously we know as USDT, is really taking advantage and embracing the US regulations because Tether is about to introduce a new stable coin into the US. So we know Tether as USDT, but in a move, basically, which signals a strategic shift toward embracing the US oversight, Tether has announced plans for USAT, a new dollar peg stablecoin tailored for the American market. The company also appointed former White House advisor Bo Hines to lead American operations. Hines, which we've talked about before, he was previously the President Trump's crypto council director. He'll oversee Tether's new US entity as the company expands into regulated American markets. So the announcement made last Friday as comes as Tether's flagship USDT continues to dominate the global stablecoin landscape, with a market capitalization topping 170 billion. So yeah, this expansion into US regulated territory marks a departure from Tether's historically arm's length relationship with American authorities. So I think we're going to see, again, we talked about this just before, the US is relaxing a lot of its rules, and a lot of people are going to be moving back, hopefully, and companies, and Tether is just about to launch into that market with a new coin. So interesting times for the people in the US finally.
Absolutely. So we'll be
Mm,
keeping an eye on that as well. Well
yeah.
done, Tether, and that evolution. We'll
Mm,
see a lot more stable coins coming to the rise. We know that other countries are looking to introduce their own stable coin version as well to perhaps compete with the US dollar pegged and stable coin industry, which is huge. Competition is healthy. Now, what is also healthy as well is that a number of countries, as they're adopting crypto, as they're learning to understand it and the regulations that get put in place. We're looking at some countries who offer, like Germany and a couple of others, that up to a certain point, you don't pay tax on your crypto. There are some flat rates for crypto transactions, but Japan is relaxing some of, or at least fixing or mending some of their crypto tax rules. So from a harsh 55% tax to a flat 20%. Japan's crypto overhaul promises relief for investors in a bid to boost Web3 innovation. Japan is poised for a significant change in its cryptocurrency tax policies. Currently, investors must deal with a stringent system that taxes crypto transactions at steep rates up to 55%. This policy has discouraged participation and driven many traders out of Japan and left crypto disadvantaged and is left crypto disadvantaged compared to the stocks which are taxed at a flat 20% rate. However, the ruling Liberal Democratic Party in Japan has committed to reforms that introduce a more favorable flat tax rate for crypto. This could potentially transform Japan's position as a global hub for digital assets. So again, as a lot of the global leaders and countries are looking at firming up and shaping up the crypto regulations as well as their tax applications or implications, we're starting to see a lot of other countries shift their stance as well and become more crypto friendly. So this is good news again, globally for the crypto market, for us as crypto traders. Make sure that you're up to date with your country's crypto standings as well, Vicky.
yeah, I really, Australia, can you please, Japan is leading the way. Can you change that as well? Because, gosh, tax over here. Anyway, I digress. So, this is a follow-up. So, a couple, where are we? Weekly warm-ups ago, we talked about Gemini. So, Gemini is the Winklevoss's crypto exchange, and they were going to debut on the NASDAQ, and they did. So, as soon as they debuted, it popped about 14% when they debuted. So shares of the Gemini space station, which is their parent company, rallied 14% last Friday after the exchange operator raised 425 million in an initial public offering. The stock opened at 37 and 1 cent on the Nasdaq, about 32% above where its IPO was priced, so that's not a bad return at all. And one point, the share traded as high as $45.89. But today, the stock is currently trading at approximately 33 cents, sorry, $33.02. So they had a great launch on the Nasdaq, and it just goes to show you that crypto is becoming more mainstream there as well.
Cool. And then I think there's one last follow-up story there for you.
Yeah, there's another follow-up actually too. So we also talked about NFTs. So John was mentioning NFTs, they were hot and then they were not, and now they're actually getting hot again. So the leader of the pack at the moment is Pudgy Penguins. And I don't know if everyone knows Pudgy Penguins, that they're cute little NFTs. They jumped 110%. So after weeks of steep declines in participation, the NFT market is slowly showing signs of stabilization. buoyed by a broader crypto rebound. So while overall buyer and seller activity has plunged nearly 70%, transaction volumes are creeping higher, and specific blockchains and collections are breaking out with double-digit growth. So Penguins is leading the way, but there are so many other NFTs to have a look at, and I think NFT season is upon us again soon.
Absolutely. And
Mm,
it is exciting. We did mention it last week, actually, and the week before about the NFTs
mm.
making a comeback in a big way. It was back in 2022, but we're seeing massive growth within that space, within the Web3 space. And I've a feeling that as soon as the Solana ETFs come out as well, Solana's going to do well, and a lot more of these projects are going to be listing on Solana. So that's great news and great things to see. Right, let's go moving on from the crypto news for the moment. So let's talk a little bit about the fear and greed index, shall we?
Yeah, the fear and greed index. So it's really the same as last week. So it's been teetering in the neutral area. So last week it was 42. This week it's about 53, 54, depending on what website you look at. It really, that's why the market's going sideways. People are just not sure where to go. They're not greedy, they're not fearful, and they're not really doing much. They're just kind of everyone's waiting to see what's going to happen. So it's not a bad thing. You know, we didn't have a massive sell-off, but we haven't had a massive growth. And Bitcoin, which John will talk about in a minute, has actually dropped a little since this graphic. But look, it's not a bad thing. It's neutral. Not bad, not good. Everyone's just waiting to see what's going to happen.
Is it the calm before the storm in a positive way?
Mm,
Well,
yeah.
there have been some headlines again over Bitcoin whales moving a whole bunch of Bitcoin across to certain exchanges and are
Mm,
dumping. Now, we do know, and I'll bring up the chart here, we do know that there is quite a resistance zone for Bitcoin at the moment. I'll actually show you guys where that is roughly. We're sitting at between 116,000, 120, 121,000-ish. But at the moment, while that is something to be aware of, we also need to bear in mind that we trade what we see. So currently, Bitcoin, it was up until about an hour ago, it was sitting about 116,000. There is some major resistance at that point. The derivatives market is actually making or having a role in that. But ladies and gents, for those of you who know, if you know, you know, were you seeing somewhere on a mountain? All right, this is on the day chart. Let's just stay and let's hopefully that's where we're going to be staying. So currently Bitcoin sitting at $114,816, depending on which exchange you're looking at. This is on the day chart. This is looking fairly positive. The fact is, over a 2 week period, we've come all the way back from here on the 1st of September, which was a week and 2 weeks and 1 day ago. We managed to recover somewhat, and this is okay. This is not bad. We're, as you can see with the crypto fear index, it is a little sideways at the moment. There's a little bit of apprehension, a little bit of anxiety what might happen, but it's not all doom and gloom. We are starting to shape up. If again, you guys know, depending on what time frame you're trading on, you want to be making sure that Bitcoin is an upwards movement when you're trading. At the moment, it's just kind of finding its feet. For me, honestly, I think we need to be not dropping down below, 113,500 or thereabouts. So I think a little bit of choppiness this week as we're looking at Bitcoin looking to stabilize. It was great towards the end of last week, where Friday we managed to rally back up again to about 116,000-ish. Um, so I'm expecting a little bit of choppiness as this is probably going to go sideways, up and down a little bit. So be very careful if you are day trading and that kind of thing. There's no clear direction at the moment. The overall, we know that Bitcoin is in a general uptrend. If you look at where we've been, where we've come from, 74,000 seemed not too long ago, but we are in a general uptrend at the moment for the next few days, expecting a little bit of choppiness. There are the Federal Reserve rate cuts coming up as well, which generally is quite bullish and quite positive. So I expect over the next 2 days, probably a little bit of a sideways motion going towards the end of the week where we might start to see some sort of massive rise. Now, I also mentioned before when we've been looking at Bitcoin dominance. I'm just going to make this a little simpler to look at. This is on the day. Now, we did break down below the previous support, 57 57.69%, and it did drop down. What we would like to see is some support as money flows into Bitcoin over the next couple of days. We obviously had a few people selling off a few Bitcoin whales, but we'd like to see this on the increase again, where cash flows into Bitcoin, it stabilizes, and it's done quite well despite the fact that it has dropped. Once Bitcoin is stable, ladies and gents, and it's going sideways for a while, not choppy, no uncertainty, this can drop. And what will happen is that money will flow into the altcoins, and we'll start to see all of these guys in big green. And that's what we're looking forward to for when that does happen. All right, we trade what we see. Scalp traders, you guys know how to take advantage of this market. Now, speaking about scalp trading, what all do we have to look at or forward to in this week?
Yeah, the lodge is really busy this week. So for those of you on the call who don't know what the lodge is, if you have taken one of the foundational courses, the HODLNOTS foundational courses, and you are in the den, you also get to go into a Telegram room called the lodge, where we conduct training, extra training. So we are super busy this week because we have two extra calls really. And this week we kick off today, actually, later today at 12 p.m. UTC with a special ask session. So the ask sessions are additional scalping knowledge. And during this week, it is a special one because our very own John Wine will be interviewing our very own Marcus, who is not on the call he normally is. So Marcus is one of our newest black bears. So he has taken and succeeded in the 3M challenge. So he's taken $40, he's turned it into 2,500, and we are going to learn about his journey. And we love learning because while they're doing the journey, they come across things like psychology, the fear that, oh, I'm not good enough. Yes, I am good enough. I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but I think we all go through the same thing. So it's really nice to hear from black bears who have made it, to see what they've gone through, because we are all in this together and we all have kind of the same hang-ups, let's say. So that's special, 12 p.m. UTC. So everyone that is in the lodge, that's a great call to watch out for. It will be recorded just in case, but it really will be better to hop on live, because then you can ask questions as well. So the link will be available in the lodge just prior to the session. And then continuing with the normal lodge calls this week, we'll also have one with Wendy's normal lodge training trading session at 8 a.m. UTC tomorrow. So that's where our lodge members can also jump on and ask any questions that they'd like. And then that continues tomorrow with the first of the self-paced calls. So those are the people that are currently doing the self-paced HODLNOTS foundational course, and that's at 12 p.m. UTC. And then this Wednesday is really, really busy actually with our happy hour hangout. Again, the months are flying by. So apologies to everyone who thought it was last week. We did have to cancel it because circumstances beyond our control, but it will be this Wednesday at 11 a.m. UTC, and we will be talking about a lot of things we talk about on this call. So it's really interesting. We'll be expanding because we give you headlines on this call, so we'll be expanding into more of the topic on that call. And then that will be immediately followed by the HODL Fire call, which is also John. So John's having a busy Wednesday. So if you are a HODL Fire member, you can hop on that call and see if there are any coins running. Let's have a look and see what coins we're looking at, and maybe we'll see what coins you're looking at as well. So, and then even later that day, 8 p.m. UTC is the first of our HODL dot calls. So the 3M challenge calls, those are the ones that Marcus used to attend and could still. And that just basically helps all of our HODLNOTs who are doing the 3M challenge with some questions. If you have a problem, jump on that call. And then it also continues with the second of our 3M challenge HODL dot calls at 8 a.m. UTC. Now that one is going to be hosted by Marcel because Wendy is flying away this week. So Marcel is going to be hosting that call, and that's always a treat. He has a different way of trading, and it's great to get other people's opinions. And then Thursday is the last of our self-paced calls. So if that was too quick, all of these are actually in the Certified Academy on the schedule. So if you're a HODLNOT in the lodge, look at the Certified Academy. If you're not, what are you waiting for? There is a self-paced course and there is a live course next month. So get into the lodge and you'll be able to attend all of these.
Absolutely. All
Mm.
right. So just there are two questions. Ask will be recorded. Absolutely. All right. So that's a lot happening, not just today, but the whole of this week as well, ladies and gents. Whether you're in the lodge for those calls or not, you are missing out. If you're doing the self-paced course, there is plenty of going on, plenty of opportunities to learn, to ask questions, and to grow as a crypto trader. Now, speaking about growth, it is week two of contest number two for the word search. Last week, we had a brand new letter, something that might look quite familiar. Do you remember what it was? There we go. All
Looks very
right.
familiar.
Okay. So, again, congrats to the person who won the previous contest. This is the brand new one. So that was one of the first random letters. There we go. Of a word, and that word could be 3 letters, 5 letters. It could be nine. It could be. We'll have to see. So, and that's not a letter. The fact is there. All right. What is the letter in this randomized word for this week?
Okay, the next one is, wait, wait,
Put
nope,
it
can't
into the
see me.
screen.
You can't see me. Hold on. Wait a minute. Mm,
Wait,
there we
wait.
go.
There we go.
Nope. There we go.
There. All right.
Mm.
All right, hopefully everybody got that one. Okay, good. If not, you might have to watch the recording a few times, put it on pause, and hopefully that will assist you in your endeavors in
Mm.
finding that word. All right, speaking about endeavors, what motivational quote are we looking at this week to set the tone?
Yeah, well, with the change of seasons, really, winter going into spring and spring going, no, and then summer going into autumn, it's really important to keep healthy with a balanced diet. So remember, please eat a balanced diet, which means a cupcake in each hand.
Done. All right. Celebrations around. Ladies and gents, thanks for joining the HODLNOTS weekly warm-up. We'll catch you guys on one of the many calls from today all the way through. Otherwise, next week, Monday again. But until then, ciao, ciao.